have a battle between two LCK mid lane giants in today's featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. This is a rematch of the LCK Finals, and although Gen.G and Chovy managed an impressive domestic showing in the LCK, they lost it when it crucially mattered versus Hanwha Life.
Peanut is going to connect the knock-up onto Peanut as he flashes out, ults back in. The Impale is decent, but the Yone's already struck. Chovy's still going to go down. And ADC Esports have changed history, and they will end the reign of Gen.G.
Now it is on Chovy's shoulders to show that not only is Gen.G the better team, but that he is the better mid laner.
Gen.G are in so many different angles, so many different movements. They're hitting them from all sides. It's a sandwich, but I think for TES, it's a rotten one. A double turns into a triple, turns into a finisher, and Gen.G with the 10 out of 10 team fight.
2022 world champion Zeka is looking to prove the doubters wrong and show that finals was not a fluke and that the LCK was only a stepping stone for Hanwha Life before taking Worlds.
Perfectly summarized, even though that was recorded before the series, but it is true. Zeka
Scripted.
wanting to show
Chovy the prophet.
the
Scripted. Also the
that
alternative.
he
Yeah,
is
of
better
course.
than Chovy, and I think it is so interesting because, all right, this was only one game in the best of, and we saw 5 of them in the LCK finals, but when you look at Gen.G, and it happened again in this game, best macro in the world bar none, but HLE just have it. The certain je ne sais quoi, the magic to turn it around on a dime, and I think that Delight Engage shows that once again, and it's going to give Gen.G a headache.
I mean, can we just get to the clip? Can
Sure.
we just watch it one more time? Because this is a situation where this tells you the story of the entire game in a single play, in a single moment, of how clutch this HLE lineup can be.
Yes, and every second counts, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, Delight finds the crispest engage you're going to see all day.
Yeah, I mean, this was honestly really well done here by HLE. It's Gen.G who actually gets the initial pick, but as they're chasing, they lose track of the fact that they're stacking up way too much. Delight finds the perfect turnaround engage. Zeka is there with the follow-up. Gen.G is absolutely destroyed. They're routed in this fight.
And I think overall, this fight obviously represents a massive turnaround, but it's important to note that this game overall was really back and forth. At the beginning of the game, you had a lot of pretty advantageous lane situations, a pretty solid lane swap for HLE, and while Gen.G did a fantastic job of leveraging the composition they built with this Aurora and Nocturne to find picks or to shut down some of the playmaking or to create such great facial expressions as the one right there behind me, I want to go back to lane because for the entire year, for this Gen.G roster, they have been lane phase monsters, but this tournament that has not been the case, and this mid lane matchup is perfectly indicative of that. This is the one of the first times we've seen a Yone versus a ranged champion come out ahead in CS.
And against Chovy.
And against Chovy.
Like, he
and
is
Chovy's
the lane guy.
Ahri. Chovy's
Yeah.
Ahri, incredible win rate. 30 wins, like 5, maybe this is the 6th or 7th
30 and 6
block.
now, 30 and
30
7.
and 7. Incredible. The only other game where we had this kind of discrepancy was FLICKR up against Jhin. Like, this is unprecedented for two mid laners of top level players.
Yeah, it's crazy, and Zeka just again proving like you might have forgotten about me because I forgot about myself for most of the year, but I can do this. And I want to jump on something that you said about this game was back and forth, and I want to push back a little bit because it technically, yes, right?
Sure.
But Gen.G is doing Gen.G things despite not being as, dominant in the lanes as they want. All the dragons about to be on Soul Point, they get the Baron, they know the moves they're making, they know how to accelerate their gold, and I don't think there's many teams in the entire world, there's probably only 2, maybe 3, that can do what HLE just did versus Gen.G.
I mean, I absolutely agree. And I have to give a lot of credit to Doran as well. Like, I was kind of white knighting Doran a little bit at the start because I feel like he gets an unfair amount of hate because he has these, like, kind of fall on your face type moments at times where if he has a bad game, it's a really bad game. But he is such a good top laner. He's very consistent overall. And in this game, he created like a nearly 3,000 gold lead. And when you look down to the final team fights, to me, he was such a difference maker. He's creating so much space for the team, and he was so hard for them to actually burst down when you're looking at, a Varus who has to be very careful about getting engaged on, and then an Ahri and an Aurora who don't really have enough consistent DPS to threaten him. He was pretty much like just a brick wall.
Honestly, it was pretty heroic performances across the board, depending on what fight you looked at. I will say to the HLE fans out there and the Gen.G fans both, It's one game in the finals. Gen.G got the next two. This ain't a best of 5. It's a best of 3. Like,
might be over.
Job's not done.
No.
HLE need to keep this momentum going. They can't afford to falter. They're notorious for winning a game 1 and then collapsing if they lose a game 2. They felt like they broke that curse in the finals. They felt like they broke that curse in the lower bracket of the LCK playoffs, but they can't fall back on that here.
No, they can't. Gen.G is selecting to go to the blue side. We were quite, I want to say impressed, but also, I want to say puzzled in a positive way. What do you say? Surprised in a good way about the choices that they decided to make. Ultimately, it didn't work out, and I got to toss. You have a really important thing.
All I'm going to say is I speak for the collective analysis hive mind when I say maybe there's no counter to Yone and it's time to ban him. It might be time. That's my only thing.
Maybe.
The time was day one.
The time was yesterday.
Little bit.
I've been thinking it's time to ban Yone since when I saw Yone's champion spotlight, man. Welcome back to Worlds 2024, everybody, and Champion Select powered by Omen and HyperX for game number 2 here in our LCK Finals rematch between Gen.G and HLE. Now, the previous game was looking real good for Gen.G for quite a while, and then Delight showed everybody in the world why Rell's solo queue play rate is about to go up tonight. Let's see how this second one plays out.
That could be you at home. Save the game.
Queue up now.
Win the whole game for your team as support. Yeah. Honestly, I don't even think we're going to get to test. Oh, will Gen.G ban Yone now? Because they're on blue side. And now it's Hanwha Life's turn on being on red side to ban it. And I think that they very well know, of course, the power of this champ. I don't think they want to give it over to first pick to Gen.G. So I would assume that they are not going to give that in trade for really anything.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the first pick would be in that situation, though, because like Yone taken away, probably going to get something like the Sejuani ban probably coming through here.
Aurora's still up too.
Aurora, yeah. To be fair though, I haven't really been overly like confident on the Aurora pick. I think it's like, it probably looks really good in scrims where you get to catch someone and pop off, but I feel like in organized team fights it hasn't had quite the same impact. So I am curious to see if it is just, okay, going to be it again, but I'm still waiting to be blown away by this pick.
Yeah, I mean, if they were willing to not ban Yone on red side and then pick up the Aurora, then they're like definitely still willing to first pick it here on the blue side, or at the very least hover it. We'll see about the final lock-in.
They got it. They got it. All right, so it's Aurora first for the side of Gen.G. Jax, Smolder, Maokai banned out by their side. Hanwha going to go ahead, take out that Yone like we were talking about, alongside the Nidalee and the Ziggs. You know, Kobe, coming from North America, where Nidalee is just nothing but a bait pick all the time, I have to remember when we get to these international competitions that, oh yeah, you really do have to ban this away from Kiin. Like, this is a real champion now.
Yes, you certainly do. And it is actually going to leave open another Vi combination here. So again, similarly to the previous ones that we saw, it's like you go for an AEP, like kill-oriented matchup with Vi. The Ahri, of course, is very popular. They're going to go AEP topside first, as Rumble has just been spam-picked even after the nerfs. Seems like nobody cares. On the other side, they actually instantly take away that Ahri possibility and pair it again themselves with the Nocturne.
This could set up for Zeka to go for Silas. It's always worked relatively well in towards the Ahri, and, well, instead, he's going towards the other pick that he made his name.
That is world champion of 2022, Zeka, to you there.
Put some honor on that.
Yeah, on the Akali. Oh, man, this is beautiful. Back at Worlds and back on Akali here after a Yone game. Beautiful stuff. Very, very excited for this second match. And with HLE already having advantage in this series, like I'm feeling so much pressure for Gen.G now, and we're not even done with the draft for game 2.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here for me is, although the sides are swapped, Gen.G's running it back from game 1, right? Like, you look at the 3 champions that they've picked, we're doing the exact same stuff. Meanwhile, on Hanwha Life, everything's looking a little bit different here.
Yeah, I do like the Renata ban, though, because that was kind of clutch in a lot of games where it was going to be, hey, we can dissuade you from that big dive, which you can already see Hanwha setting up for. So I'm curious if we get the Ezreal and the Kai'Sa ban now coming through on towards Viper just to deny that easy follow-up. And then it becomes a case of what do you want to try and take into that AD carry position when so many of those easy self-reliant champions are removed from the pool.
All right, Renata, Xayah banned away, Ezreal banned away. Remember that Ezreal was also banned last time.
Kind of vibing, actually. Yeah.
My jet lag brain started dancing.
Just having a great time, dude. I respect that. You know what? Live your best life. We got some good games. We got some chill beats. We might as well relax.
How else would you want to spend your weekend, you know?
All right, what else we got?
Kaisa.
Yeah, Viper's been scary. All right, we take out the Kaisa possibilities with the dive. Of course, even with just the Vi, you're already scared about any of the setups for that champ. And by banning out the Kaisa, you also kind of break up and lower a little bit the Rell priority. And so you're like, please, Delight, don't just combo us again and win the entire fight. Viper's definitely been a Jhin lover, so we're gonna have some more long range, more CC as well from this champ. A lot of possibilities here actually for HLE for some kind of drawn out team fights.
But also then the counter pick for Delight, which is going to work out fantastically as well. You just saw how good he was in the Rell, but now you get to answer for whatever Lehends wants to go for.
Yep.
With the Kalista hovered, I'm still imagining something like an Alistair probably for Lehends, and maybe you just gift the Rell across, just saying, hey, I can answer into so many of these knockups having the Alistair, and that repeat send in of the Fate's Call just gives so much bounce house potential to Gen.G.
And since we're already on the last pick, we know that there's no place for Silas to fit into the enemy comp if you do
Never
pick
say
us.
Also, because we're so late in the draft, I also really like the late Jhin picks. You know, Jhin picks when you already see enemy top and jungle picked, so you know there's not going to be like super beefy tanks of Skarner and stuff like that in it. And so you have faith that, you know, the Jhin is going to be able to do plenty of damage, and there is a lot of squishy members on the side of Gen.G. That being said, they do at least lock in the Leona here to have their real linchpin on their side to bring together the full engage. And they have so much possibilities again on Gen.G. We mentioned their pick potential last time. It gets even bigger here.
And I always like Leona into Jhin as well because it's so easy for if he opens up the curtain call and you're trying to disengage or anything, you can just throw the solar flare and just, all right, curtain's done.
Spotlight's way too bright. Need to move on.
Well, there is the Rell that we were expecting once again for Delight.
Yeah, and I do think it works out perfectly here. You just have follow-up great engage on Peanut with the Vi. You've got two very much dive carry potentials coming through from the Akali with just her ult, but also the threat of the Rumble ultimate on towards a backline with that follow-up. So it's very easy for Hanwha to operate in this sort of composition. And again, Gen.G, they kind of need to get out to the bat swinging because yes, you've got a Leona who can face check this, but it's a very similar composition to what we saw in the last game.
So does that mean, let me ask you this, gentlemen, we'll just be direct about it. Did Hanwha win draft?
I don't think it's that big of a difference. I think this one is going to be gameplay for sure.
Okay. Those are my favorite ones,
because,
to be honest.
Honestly, there is so much pressure on the side of Gen.G with the lanes that they have drafted here. And remember, back to the first game, like it was just because Hanwha were able to get the big team fight and full combo on them. Gen.G had been able to maneuver objectives really favorably for themselves. And so, yeah, honestly, I have no problem with a lot of the re-picks here for Gen.G.
I'm just curious if we do get another lane swap, because it did definitely help in the early stages for Hanwha and just being able to avoid a lot of these terrible matchups, because at the moment you're still looking at 3 pushing lanes for Gen.G, which is always a terrifying prospect to give across to this team.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's see if Gen.G can take us to a third game. Remember, the original LCK finals, the summer finals that we had just a few weeks ago, did go the distance all the way to game number 5. We'll see if Gen.G can take us all the way to the third game here in this one, or if Hanwha is going to be our second team heading to Paris for the quarterfinals, if they can repeat the success that LNG just had with the 2-0. Gen.G invading enemy jungle here, going to force Peanut back. As Lehends and Kiin step far forward into the chicken brush. Looks like Hanwha Life not super interested in this.
Yeah, nice full jungle takeover there for Gen.G to be able to suss out any early spread play here from HLE, but HLE, ooh, quite gets it. Okay, does find the ward. On World Patch 2, the wards still give a little bit of experience. So nice little boost there for Zeka plus the bottom lane. And the ward left behind on the red buff here by Gen.G will suss out that it is going to be bot side start for Peanut. And Vi also, kind of like Nocturne, is almost always going to go for the full clears unless, like our first series of the day, you have a specific matchup that has CC in it that is going to bring you there. It was a beautiful, deviation from normal play to go up there, play off of the Renekton stun, and get it. But should just be full clears for both junglers to opposite sides.
The only argument I have against it is if Peanut wants to try and get in towards that top side to maybe burn a flash from Kiin and help out Doran. But I mean, you can see at the bottom of your screen how very dominant Gen.G has been in this matchup domestically. So Hanwha looking to really upset the apple cart once again here on the world stage.
Yeah, I mean, Hanwha put a stop to the early talk of Gen.G talking about their golden road even. Really big combo breaker here that Hanwha were able to pull off in finals, and they're not stopping. They want to do it at Worlds as well, with already being a game up.
Gentlemen, we're talking about the past right now. I am just so much loving the present because there is no lane swap. That is always a blessing here in a game of modern League of Legends, as once again, our reminder, Mercedes featured matchup, the mid lane, Chovy versus Zeka, the Ahri. Last time around, the Yone reigned supreme, as he has done in most matchups so far in Worlds. This time around, Ahri versus Akali.
And sorry to take you to the past again, Flowers, but that featured matchup does have roots in semifinals of Worlds, and Zeka taking us back here with the Akali as well, back to when he did get the World Championship for himself. Of course, the early stages against Chovy's Ahri are going to be a little bit difficult, getting pushed in a bunch, and the Ahri also going the Grass Spear, stacking that up.
Ooh, Doran with the flash, but Kiin immediately flashing back away as Peanut was going top, looking for the angle.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of expecting, to wait for Peanut to come in. You try and look for the slow with the harpoon, and then maybe you can get a flash from Kiin and keep Doran's, because then you've got a bit more kill potential from Doran if you do land an electric harpoon on towards Kiin. But just flash for flash burn to that top side, and you still got Peanut who's just going to look for the reset now. But I do want to go back towards the conversation, because I think Zeka, 2022, we look and go, oh, well, it was like Akali's and Silas's in the meta, and that's why Zeka really popped off. But he has really grown as a player over this last period, where he has started adding tons more to his champion pool. Like, he looks insane on picks like the Azir. He looked great in the AD carry meta. This guy has come in as an all-rounder now, as just a very, very competent and strong mid laner that you always have to fear.
Lehends backing up a little bit here as Delight found that shattering strike on him, but HLE pretty much undeterred down here in the bottom lane farm fest.
So nice little pings too. You can always see Gen.G tracking enemy jungle. Of course, they know it was bot side clear for Peanut, and it was going to be very standard for Vi, but it was perfect timing there. You see the blue ping immediately on Gromp. They know he's going for his re-clear of his second path. So bot lane also knows, hey, it's a possible hover there. So they get pushed in. They don't want to do anything crazy right now to draw any extra attention. And it kind of keeps that semi-timer on enemy jungle so that you know where he's going to go in the future.
Lehends with the engage on Viper, forcing out the cleanse, dropping the ignite on him as well. Viper can walk off without needing to use the flash, but he is pretty hurt now. And the aggro of Gen.G here in this bottom lane, the power of Kalista with any sort of an aggressive support is always scary in these early duels.
I think that also sets up then for them to start to look for a rotation here, because you push in bot, you've just seen it there, they can rotate up towards these early Void Grubs too, and Kiin should be able to push out this wave and just nicely continue this objective control that I think Gen.G really want to get rolling, especially when you can play heavily through all three lanes. Void Grubs become so nice for tower takes, but Delight cause, just gotta step away.
Yep, he's fine.
Meanwhile, the mid lane matchup that we were just looking at, and I like how the analyst has touched on how good Zeka is, especially in the early stages of the melee versus range matchups. Did quite nicely with his CS versus Chovy's Ahri on the Yone, and also was trying to keep up pretty well here on the Akali. A little bit difficult, of course, and taking a slight deficit, but still getting back to lane and into the level 6 point where Akali finally does, have some possibilities of joining some of these fights, where Peanut's actually trying to sneak away one of these grubs real quick.
Yep.
Grabs one without having to use his smite, by the way, which is so key for the first grub pack. I don't know if he'll actually try and go right back and steal one away, but sometimes you can kind of wrap around and steal one away, see if enemy jungler use their smite, but he's not even going to go check. The job is done. You just need one, again, out of the first pack to put the threat of 4 on second pack.
And I think he's just going to move down over towards this dragon. Even though you look at the reset coming through from Viper, they know that Peyz has just gone for the reset themselves, so they're just going to match Zeka. Goes aggressive on towards Chovy.
Yeah, using that smoke screen to continue pushing forward, but with Lehends and Delight both joining in. Now Zeka's got to try to be a little bit more careful. Perfect execution to get himself back away to the safety of his own turret. But Akali now with half HP and no flash will not feel confident trying to go down and join this fight for the Drake. So that means Peanut's just got to give it up as Gen.G walks their troops in and secures this objective.
That is so massive for Gen.G, and big credit to Lehends for positioning and timing and being there to be able to get Zeka's ult on the Akali plus the flash. Means you now don't really have to worry about any of the early burst damage and early possibilities of even getting money to snowball into the Ahri. Plus, you chase them off the objective trade there. They get the extra grub as well as the dragon. Thanks for the leash, Mr. Peanut. But they already got mid-priority first, and mid-priority very, very, very frequently does translate into those neutral objectives. So nicely kind of cascaded from mid lane by Gen.G here to once again put themselves into a position to control the dragon stacking.
And Lehends was so impressive yesterday as well with his ability to be in the right place at the right time, catching out so many members of the enemy team, like wrapping around the back of that Baron pit to set up so many of these early engages and get Gen.G into that strong point, but might need to double check himself.
Okay, Lehends trying to get back away from this one. Shattering Strike not connecting there. Lehends doing a good job staying just slightly above the hitbox.
Learned from the last game.
I love a little perfect sidestep there. Able to avoid as well. So honestly, very nice stuff here again in the opening session for Gen.G. As far as the objectives are controlled. Canyon again farming here on the Nocturne, trying to get up to his experimental hexplate as quickly as possible, trying to hit that breakpoint just before the next dragon, and seems to be on pace.
All right, still pretty calm early game, similar to last time around. The team's just not interested in all the PvP angles, instead just farming it up, getting to the point where they feel like they're better suited to find some of those bigger fights, I would suppose. Gen.G with a nice early lead, though, about 800 gold or so.
But that's what we are kind of expecting from Gen.G coming into this fight. You have 3 pushing lanes, just let them do their thing and start to get these lane advantages, and you can see the CS numbers are coming through for them in every single lane with those advantages. So just take it slow, play for push, play for void grubs, reset, come back out, then use those void grubs to threaten towers, look for your next dragon. Everything on Gen.G is already laid out as a very easy roadmap to follow. It is on Hanwha to try and find ways to disrupt that, and that has to be on Pinos. He has this Vi, has the level 6 or the ultimate available. Look for a play on towards Peyz, try and burn some of these early summoner spells, and maybe then that gives you that window to take the advantages out of Gen.G's hands.
And that's something that we were already talking about in game number 1, is Peanut is definitely the guy who can make those plays happen. He can find those angles, he can find those engages. It's just, can they manage to do it in time to make sure that Gen.G doesn't build this lead up into something that's too formidable to make it work out the way they want it to work out, to be able to just have the advantage off of the angle and the extra timing alone of getting that engage that you need. Zeka continuing to farm up here in the mid lane. You really want to see that Akali hit his big first item spike as well, being the melee champion, being the assassin. Very important to not fall behind.
And I really want to highlight all of the vision work that Gen.G do. It's such a good setup here for the second pack of grubs, where we know there's going to be emphasis on those grubs. The desync timer there with the dragon, they've got fully warded up behind and leading to it. Plus, they have the mid lane control, so it's just like really nice setup here to again secure a lot of these early objectives for themselves, and they'll easily be able to get to at least 4 for themselves, probably 5, since nobody is heading over for HLE. And HLE, once again, trying to do the cross map instead. Don't even want to try and fight you on it. And they'll go for some turret plate money bottom.
It's still Jhin though. And even with the demolish that's coming through from Delight, they are very slow at taking these towers. So in the grand scheme of things, you're still happy enough to take this trade as Gen.G. And then you can just start to look for, hey, Dragon's up in a minute's time. Okay, let's, well, steal away some camps as Canyon, but then reset, back out of the map, threaten a potential tower in mid, and you're always playing on the back foot here as Hanwha because of the 3 pushing lanes.
Yeah, especially because later into the game, the extra grub with the Void Might there spawning is really going to help out the double AP splitting with the threat of the Nocturne covering, so they can try and seamlessly transition into that game plan as well much later into the game. Let's see about the setup for that Dragon that you mentioned, though, because that is the area that HLE kept their vision in, and they do have the bit deeper of the ward there through jungle. Lehends, though, moving right in, on schedule, ahead of Dragon arrival, clears out the critical brush there that has determined so many Dragon teamfights. Try and set himself up with a good position to engage.
Hanwha could try and go for some sort of cross mop, and I'm kind of keep my eyes on Delight because it feels like he's going to be the arrow that points the direction that they want to go. You do have already opening up on mid for Viper, but with Peanut on bottom side, it looks like Hanwha aren't really in a position to go for anything. Even Kiin resetting as well to deny them any sort of dive potential, but yeah, just Hanwha not really in a position to do anything.
It's an easy second Drake for Gen.G. 5 grubs to 1, 2 Drakes to 0. A very, very modest gold lead, but still, everything in the first 12.5 minutes of the game is going their way, still with 0 kills for either side on the board, as Gen.G now with a 3-man push in the bottom lane, looking to mine some more plate money away, as Zeka's already in the smoke, but with that defensive cooldown used with Solar Flare finding him, it's such an easy first blood for Gen.G. Zeka thought it was enough to stay safe, but it wasn't. Now a flashback over the wall from Peanut, while Doran can't find the kill on Chovy. Hanwha thought they might have seen a counterpunch there, but Gen.G gets away from it.
Great job from Lehends to lock down Zeka in that shroud. Peanut steps forward.
Oh, hold on now. Between worlds, Peanut could be in a little bit of trouble, but Viper's coming down to look to help him. Doran with a flame spitter, but instead, it's just another death, this time for Peanut. Delight wants to go in. Lehends finally drops. Viper gets the kill, and the curtains are called. Kiin sniped down again. A double kill back over to Viper. Zeka shows up. The cavalry has arrived, and Gen.G overstays their welcome.
Gen.G got duped. They thought they were the ones with the advantage, trying to push through, seeing if they get just a smidgen more of those kills in their favor. But it's actually Hanwha, whoever to turn it around, with some great shots raining down from Viper.
Yeah, I mean, Gen.G win the first fight and come out so ahead, and they even are like, oh great, we got another follow-up pick. But they have to call it just after that. You know, Lehends goes in, and they actually flash away to avoid it. Viper getting a double kill off this could be problematic, but even Zeka, who on the Akali died so early on the tower dive, also gets gold at the end of this super long extended. I love this guy.
Dude, I love his reaction so much.
Zeka still getting some money though at the end of that, and Zeka actually had a ring as well, so a couple extra stacks there on the Dark Seal.
I think as well, the fact that Peanut had Sunder Sky completed was huge, because they try to burst him out, and he just gets the shield off his passive and the Sunder Skies proc, which makes it really difficult to take him down, and just buys that little bit of extra time. But this is still a Gen.G favored map, and the Mascot lane economy snapshot showing that Viper, with that static shiv, very far ahead of Peyz, but how much can this Jhin do against the onslaught of Gen.G?
All right, here comes the Rift Herald. The Herald alone won't be able to kill the turret, but a Demolish proc plus a charge, that is the end of the road for the tier 1 turret here in mid lane. First turret taken for the side of Gen.G. Hanwha had already secured the one in the bottom lane for themselves. Lehends drifting. Boom! Right into the turret. The last little bit of damage will get it done. Then Zenith Blade back onto Zeka to try to get himself away. Canyon covering his retreat there with a paranoia. Nicely done from Gen.G to get a 2-for-1 deal on that Herald summon.
Lehends is such a Chad. Holy! 5-head driving through enemy jungle to get the back door on the bot turret there. Takes it, gets out alive. Extra bonus objective there. Now that's what you call efficiency.
That's how you drive a Rift Herald, man. When they first made this change in the game, we saw so many people wreck the Herald into a wall or drive it a little bit silly. Everybody's got their license now. Everybody knows how to drive this thing, and Lehends might as well be a professional at it. This guy knows how to maneuver that Herald through enemy territory. Gen.G, still though, they're only 500 gold ahead, despite the fact that they've had the lead for the longest time in the game because of that counterattack that Hanwha had underneath the tier 1 turret earlier. It's still so close.
I think the difference though is now Gen.G have 2 of those outer towers down, and they get to just use these aggressive lanes now to push Hanwha back further and further on the map, then drift up towards this top side, take the top tower, and then just continuously keep them pushed back. Third Dragon though, now in 45 seconds, will alleviate some pressure where Hanwha can maybe find success of a fight with Lehends.
He's fine. He's chilling. He's Leona. It's all right.
He's a very lonely Leona though, so I got a little nervous.
Leona. Well, luckily he's got some buddies now. He can get back to the safety of Chovy right next to him. Hanwha going to take the opportunity to just get this mid lane shoved up. Oh, unlucky for Jhin. Deadly Flourish missed just by a sliver. But, oh well, Doran farming a bottom lane here now on the Rumble as well. Does have his Proto Belt, is level 12, so he has the second level of the ulti. We know that Rumble is a mid-game team fight monster, and I want to see if HLE can find an angle to really get the most out of that.
And Viper himself, even though he used his flash offensively in that bot side play to collect the extra kill, his flash is going to come off cooldown just a couple seconds after Dragon, so it's going to be ready.
Ooh, the Deadly Flourish there on Canyon forces him to use Paranoia defensively, as now HLE has all 5 players here in the bot side river. They know that Gen.G took the first 2 Drakes. They don't want to give them the soul point, not on an Infernal map especially. So now HLE overloading this part of the map means they're going to secure the Drake, and Gen.G are saying, fine, take it. They want to go and trade the tier 2 turret back in the mid lane at the same time, but it ain't going to work out so well as Lehends tries to get away, but he's locked up, beat down, finally saved by Peyz, who uses that Kalista ultimate to keep his teammate around. Zeka goes in, perfect execution over the wall, but it's not perfect enough. Zeka just barely misses the damage and throws his own life away.
They thought that with the Paranoia down, Hanwha would have an advantage. Gen.G tried to trade for mid-turret, but the overextension from Zeka, hoping to get a couple more kills, ends up just gifting one back to Gen.G and sets them up for the top lane tower as well.
And those are the benefits of really quickly moving on to the next objective. You know, Gen.G are like, all right, fine, we don't have an Nocturne ultimate, we're not going to chase you, we're not going to mess around with you at Dragon. They immediately went mid lane to push on mid lane, and then as soon as the rest of HLE are rotating over, they kite backwards, and even with it getting a little dicey, Lehends taking a large amount of damage before the Kalista ult came in, it just even kind of acted as bait there, as they're able to flash over the back of Baron Pit, draw them in, and even come out with an extra kill on top of the top tower that Aurora is able to get.
3-3, 32.6 to 30.7 in the gold. Next Drake not going to spawn for a few more minutes. Baron will be alive in 40, but the game is so close, I don't really see anybody rushing towards it. We talk about Baron rushes and stuff like the previous game where we had a Varus with Bork and Ginsu. Kalista with lethality items versus and Jhin just being Jhin. Neither one of those going to do the same level of rushing on a Baron, I don't think.
Yeah, I think this is where all you really want as Gen.G is to use the pressure Nocturne creates on the map. You have a push-in boss. You can already see Canyon is just kind of babysitting Chovy a little bit as he gets that lane pushed in, but he's always pressuring both bot and mid, which is opening up then for the pressure on mid to alleviate in towards Kiin on top side, and continuously just moving across all these 3 lanes, making it nearly impossible for Hanwha to really contest you. And at that stage then, you get the vision you need in the jungle to then actually pull the trigger with this Nocturne ultimate. Or even if you don't for the next 3 minutes, you still get so much control for the likes of that Dragon or any other objective on the map. So I think the slow and steady will continue for Gen.G here.
Gen.G with all of those gold leads in every role except for the marksman role. Going back to what I was talking about in game number 1, remember when these guys are so dominant in their league, when they are running the show, it's because they're outpacing everybody. Back in the era of the AP junglers with the AD mids, back in the era it was just turbo farm, turbo farm, turbo farm. They're really good at setting that pace and making it so hard for opponents to keep up with them. It feels like you're drowning. Even if you're even in kills and the fights feel pretty close, these guys are constantly just pushing the needle ever so slightly further and further ahead.
And again, in this game, setting themselves up so ahead in the objective area. Now, someone just needs to message them, hey, don't group up in front of Delight, even if you get a kill.
Remember, Rell is in the game.
Just remember, don't get jumped on there. And as long as you're able to do that and leverage the tools that you guys are talking about, they should be able to have these incremental advantages with the extra leverage of threat of Nocturne ultimate on these side lanes pushing to be able to get small leads here and there to be able to push in and get the positioning that they want. Again, the deeper wards are all theirs. They're the ones with the ward behind Raptor Pit, behind Red Pit here. Even as Delight's trying right now to clear as much as he can, there are still angles here for Gen.G. So they can see you coming ahead of time and really set up their plays.
I think even just getting a second item onto Canyon would be super nice as well. With a minute left on towards the next objective, these second item breakpoints are going to make such a big difference, especially when you look at, oh well, Viper now picking up his second item. You Shadow Flame kind of almost there for Zeka, but I'm not entirely sure how much gold he has. But this is where these little moments of small incremental advantages can come back to break the game open for Gen.G.
That's what really the gold lead comes down to, right? It's like, okay, you can be X amount of gold ahead, but if it doesn't result in a meaningful item difference, then the fight's still gonna more or less just come down to who's got the execution. Second fully completed item for Kiin, you've got the Cosmic Drive, you've got the Leandries. This Aurora can be an absolute menace if she's just allowed to do the damage in the middle of the fight. The range, of course, always being the issue. You gotta make sure you don't get caught out, don't get put in a spot where you can just get exploded.
All right, they're fighting the good fight, trying to clear out some of the extra vision leading up, trying to retake their own territory. It's always dangerous re-moving in, but Delight is able to do it, even finally gets the ward onto the Baron. I mean, for the majority of the year, Gen.G was credited as being the best macro team in the entire world, and they're still just continually setting themselves up for success.
And I think his little understandings of how they can get those advantages, even looking at Peyz build, he's gone for this Lethality Kalista, which is all for, I get push on mid-wave and I cleared these waves very quickly, but less of a massive threat when it comes towards these team fights. So I think that's why Gen.G still need to be a little nervous as they enter in towards this very dark dragon area.
I mean, basically everybody in this game is pretty squishy. We've got some tanky targets, you know, the Leona, the Rell, the Vi, but there's a lot of very, very viable kill targets, even on both teams. So let's look at the setup here once again. Always spot Delight. Lehends chases him out.
Zeka setting up for maybe a pincer attack here. Delight's going to be stunned up at the very start of the fight. He tries to get away, but he's sent into the fear. He's sent into the graveyard. Canyon grabbing the first kill there as now he has to disengage. Hanwha Life have already lost their clutch factor. They have no way to try to approach this fight now.
Yeah, actually so smart. Lehends just runs straight at Delight. They push him out of the brush. Immediate Nocturne ultimate. They immediately jump on him and take away all that possibility of the setup. Beautiful stuff here from Gen.G to even get themselves to a soul point pretty quickly into the game, considering they gave up one of the Infernal Dragons and they're not even done.
Ooh, Doran with the flash over the wall to try to escape. But as soon as that summoner spell is down, Aurora's going between worlds and Doran is trying to get all the way back to safety. Peanut down to 100 HP. Peyz jumps forward with a beautiful shot from the Pierce to take him down.
Doran didn't realize he was backing on a ward and didn't want to blow that summoner spell early because Flash is the only way he can get out of that Aurora ult. And as soon as he does, Kiin picks him off and they say, or well, sets up for the pick, and it's actually they turn on to Peanut to actually finish off the jungler from Hanwha instead.
Gen.G looking good here in the second game, now on soul point in 4 minutes. An infernal soul threat on this team could be absolutely harrowing for HLE, but they're having such a difficult time getting close. Gen.G getting so much value out of this Nocturne ulti like you're talking about. Every single time there's one of those big moments. And these guys are so good at team fighting, both teams, that just that little bit of extra pause that you have to have because it's so dark, I feel like is making such a difference in HLE not being able to respond to Gen.G.
And we've got some, you know, pretty big gold leads now really layering up here on Gen.G. Mid and jungle looking quite nice here. Chovy is back on the Ahri, and Chovy has some extra damage to work with. The picks are definitely going to be hard for HLE to avoid, and really, if you're looking at the comeback play, it's going to have to be another huge team fight at one of the objectives to get themselves back into this game if they are going to do so. And they don't have a lot of time to do that with.
Right. Deadly Flourish only hits Lehends. Not really that big of a deal. Peanut now jumping in for a little bit more. Peyz could get caught out. Popping the Clans trying to get away to the blast cone. Peyz still alive for now. They're trying to dive into him. They finally get the shutdown, but now Zeka's got to be careful. Equalizer comes down over the top. Chovy trying to escape. Zeka sure he can flip. Ain't going to find the target. Chovy gets away between worlds coming down here for Gen.G. Double come back over to Canyon. It's 2 dead on Gen.G. It's 2 dead on HLE.
For the
and
moment.
Zeka is trying to get away. Canyon with the flash in for the fear. And Kiin won't let him get out. The weirding just puts him into the dirt as a TP puts Gen.G right back in a spot for more objectives, more gold, and more of a lead against Hanwha.
Hanwha committed so much to try and make that fight happen, but Gen.G more than happy to take it back against them. The TP comes in from the Akali on the bottom side, and Peanut tries to get the connection here onto Lehends, doesn't quite hit, then goes forward on towards Peyz, but Zeka goes over the wall, misses his E, his shuriken flip, so doesn't immediately get back onto Peyz, has to use the perfect execution to get back into the fight, and then just doesn't have a huge amount of damage to try and finish this off. The equalizer does a lot of work, but Kiin is able to focus down the light. Viper is playing catch up this whole fight, trying to see if he can get into position. But with Canyon and Kiin there, he just can't really get the damage off he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, the whole plan there was get the ultimate onto Peyz and immediately delete him. But as you say, when you break that combo, if you don't hit the E, not going to be able to do it quick enough. And then Gen.G punished so quickly. Nice response from them. They even got an objective in addition to chasing down the extra kill.
Gen.G, 4,000 gold ahead, 90 seconds until the next Drake spawns, and it just feels like the opportunity for HLE to come back into this game is disappearing minute by minute. Lehends unafraid to walk up and set that ward down. As you can see, HLE again forced back, trying to defend the tier 2.
Delight trying to hide on the bush there at the back. You can see Chovy was checking it with all of his spells, but doesn't quite hit. But eventually they get the ward down. Delight has to back away. But it's Kiin pushing in this top side, spreading Hanwha thin across the map once more. And with Dragon in 50 seconds, you've already got the control you need as Gen.G to pick up that soul for yourself. Hanwha desperately needs something. Maybe that Infinity Edge for Viper is enough, but they need so much to work in their favor in this next fight.
Well, let me remind you of a game state just an hour ago where Gen.G was poised to essentially lock the game in for themselves. They had a great pick, they were heading towards the soul, and then Delight changed the entire momentum of the game. I feel like if you're Gen.G right now, that's got to be in your mind, and they know they need this approach to be clean with 15 seconds left on the timer before that soul spawns.
It's funny because I know that play is going to be reference all tournament long now. Here we go.
You better believe it. But Canyon popping the paranoia. Solar flare lands. They found a lot of damage under the light. It's hard to find a counterattack like that. And Peyz gets the kill. Now he's got to be careful because Peanut and Zeka are ready to take him down. Viper getting away on the top half of the fight at the same time. But Gen.G is just cutting through everybody. Kiin gets back away across the veil. The shutdown on Viper. And Gen.G get it done.
Gen.G are out for blood. They're out for vengeance. They killed the light first every single time now. Wait, Lehends is Leona. He's tanky enough. It's fine. Doran wants to get out.
Doran going crazy there looking for Chovy. All right, that's...
He knows the game is slipping away, and so he wants the miracle play. You know, he wants to be able to try and do something crazy to bring it back. But again, Gen.G, Nocturne lights out. Leona ult stuns up the Rell. They go immediately onto it. Just Lehends is like, fine, Delight, you beat us last game, really nicely played, but we are going to take you out.
It's also just Kiin on the back line. He puts so much threat onto Viper because everyone is diving forward, but he just locks Viper up. Viper flashes off the wall, he follows over. Doran is late to going back towards him. And you can see he never gets to open up with the curtain call. That's how that Jhin is supposed to operate in this composition. Everyone goes forward, he stays way back in safety and just fires from afar, but it's Kiin putting that pressure, disrupting the Hanwha game plan.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of value out of the Aurora pick. Plus, this time around, Gen.G, in order to enact this game plan, did not give away the Yone. So the Yone card is also not in the game.
Very important card.
Since Gen.G was on blue side this time around. And looks like this Baron here should be burned down. HLE, time is really running out for them, so you know their desperation meter is just like through the roof now. We kind of already saw it with the Doran play, but you know, they're just like any sort of play that even looks half good, we should just go for it.
I mean, half is better than the chance that you're going to have just sitting and giving everything over to Gen.G at this point, as Kiin can immediately just walk back away as soon as he sees HLE trying to defend these brushes, defend this vision. Elder won't spawn for another 4.5 minutes, but for the next 2.5, it's Baron in possession for Gen.G.
Yeah, and I think the problem is you're just so far behind as almost everyone apart from Viper on Hanwha that it's impossible to fight back. You're a full item behind on jungle and mid. They're playing with so much confidence, Canyon and Chovy, knowing that they are basically untouchable for a lot of this unless the Light has some miracle play. So for the moment, Hanwha desperate to make something happen, but I just think they're running out of time.
Kiin just putting in the work on the tier 3 turret, all alone, all by himself, all uninterrupted. That tier 3 turret's already gone. Canyon's over the wall, ready with a paranoia. Gen.G just waiting, biding their time. They know they don't have to force anything. The game favors them so heavily at this point. HLE still just scrambling, trying to defend.
And how frustrating is this got to be as Hanwha? Like this slow, methodical pace from Gen.G, where it's a death by 1,000 cuts, and now those cuts continue to rain down as you're underneath the tower.
There it goes, the dive is ready to go in. Delight tries to make the miracle happen, but Gen.G are not believers here today. Doran getting dove by Lehends, a little bit more damage would get it done, and finally the burn seals the deal. Gen.G, they might have lost Lehends, they might have lost Canyon, but they get the tier 2 turret, they get +1 on the kills in the fight.
Again, even with the tower there, they'll go straight through the front line. Gets a little dicey as they dive really deep, and the tower's still standing for the beginning of that fight, but in the end, still further progressing their march towards the Nexus. Still get the tower, get the extra kills too, and here it is. They actually got them both with the weirding, caught Viper in it too, and so Canyon went into the back of it to try and put the extra pressure onto Viper, and then it gets a little dicey as far as keeping him in, and Lehends tried to follow, and because Lehends is able to have the Ignite there, and actually finishes off the extra kill onto Doran, they are still able to move forward with it.
His coach's expressions are just fantastic.
Yeah, it's really great.
I kind of forget about the game as soon as he pops up, because like, oh, what's going to happen?
It's like, oh, you know it's going to be good. As soon as he's on screen, you're like anticipating, oh, what's it going to be this time?
Whether they're winning or losing, whatever's happening. All right, we've got 10 seconds left on our Red Bull Baron power play here. It's plus 3,500 for Gen.G, which is a really solid gain for that objective. And now it's sub 2 minutes until the Elder spawns. I feel like if you're HLE, this is it. It's a Hail Mary play at Elder Dragon. It's the one thing that could bring you back into a spot where you could win the fight if you steal it away or something. Other than that, this one's pretty much zipped up for Gen.G.
I mean, we all expect Gen.G to finish out this game and to win, but if you are on comms on the side of HLE, I would try and proffer the idea of Peanut go in front of Delight, because Peanut is Vi and you can use your ultimate to actually still get the engage and go immune. Even if they go on you, you can try and immune some of their CC, but Peanut really has to step in front of Delight, I feel like, to be the first layer of it, because fight after fight after fight, Gen.G are just taking out the Rell before Rell gets to have any sort of effect. And so even though your chances are very low and you're so far behind, you're out-itemized, I think you have to try and like immune the go from Gen.G to try and get your own opening.
Sure, but guys, we have a problem. There is a loss. That's
so what you're telling me is to go for the one that doesn't have an immunity?
Yeah, kill the Lehends and just fingers crossed. Hopefully it's the best.
All right, Rocket Redemption Leona. That's the target. Okay. That's the name of the game. Well, it is total control over the enemy jungle here for Gen.G. They will steal the enemy blue buff as well. They'll sit down all this vision. The Elder's going to spawn in 30 seconds. You can see the recall for the Rabadon's death cap from Kiin, who now teleports back to join up with the rest of the team. Nearly full build Aurora, nearly full build on the Ahri. Kiin jumping away there from the deadly flourish. HLE trying to make their approach. Delight's got to be careful. He does not want to eat a bunch of damage before he makes his way in for the hard engage. Another deadly flourish flies out, doesn't get a whole lot. Doran getting chunked by the damage potential of Chovy and Gen.G.
Yeah, I mean, the poke is so problematic that it looks like Doran's actually going to recall for his teleport back now. He gets a vision ward on him, so he does cancel it. Won't.
Oh, Lehends immediately with a flash engage going after Viper, but he ain't gonna find the kill that he wants, kill that he needs. Kiin with a rampage on Peanut as Gen.G are way too strong. 3 for nothing. The Viper makes it 4. Zeka tries to escape, and Gen.G with a clean fight here at the very end. They do not need an Elder. They don't even need Zeka. They just want him to send a message. Canyon gets back away, and there it is. Lehends ends HLE, and Chovy's pushing the minion wave into the base.
What a game for Lehends too, this one. Gen.G, the steamroller, going to even this one up and take game number 2.
All that's left is the structures falling down. I'm so glad our LCK Finals rematch is not just going to be a clean sweep. Gen.G ties us up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to a 3rd game.
You always knew it had to go the distance with these two teams. Finals was the very same, and now we get to showcase exactly what these two teams are capable of.
All right, game number 3 coming y'all's way here real soon, but right now we got to toss to a break real quick first. Don't go anywhere.